welcome to The World Today. I'm Waqas Majeed Khan. Today we're talking about a number of issues that concern us. First of all, we would like to say that terrorists attacked Pakistan's checkpost, and a number of these terrorists were killed in the encounter, but unfortunately 2 of our soldiers were also martyred and 4 of them were injured. We'll talk about the ensuing relationship between Pakistan and Afghanistan when overtures are made. 2 steps forward, 1 step back is the kind of situation we find ourselves in. Our second topic is regarding Pakistan's offer to the Indian government to let them allow Kulbhushan's wife to visit him on humanitarian grounds. A very good offer being made by Pakistan to the Indians on humanitarian grounds. Let's see how that unfolds and if the Indians accept that. Our third topic is a very problematic one because nobody seems to have any solution or answer to the problem, and that is the situation of smog that has engulfed a major part of the country, has made visibility almost next to nil. People's lives have been made miserable as a result of the smog on various levels because of health and also because of the problems in traveling. And finally, our last comment is going to be on the situation in Islamabad, how the people of Islamabad are once again, their lives have been made a living hell by a certain group of individuals. Not really clear what they're on about, but the city has been sealed and people's lives have been made miserable as a result of the protests taking place in Islamabad. So let's get the conversation started. I'd like to introduce my guests in the studio. Joining me today, we have Muhammad Khan Saab, and along with him, we have Salman Bhattani. Thank you very much for being here. Khan Saab, I'll start with you. First of all, a very sad incident for us. The terrorists who attacked Pakistan's checkpost on the Pak-Afghan border managed to kill 2 of our soldiers. They were martyred defending the motherland. But this begs the question that whenever we talk about Afghanistan and Pakistan mending their relationship or removing the trust deficit that constantly exists, we are confronted by such incidents. We've spoken about the Afghans taking action, or the Americans also taking action within Afghanistan to curb these militant organizations, but it's always poor Pakistan that has to do more. So when will we actually see the rest of the people who are involved in this great game do more?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Waqas. Very important question, and truly I would say that we have been suffering, we are suffering, and I don't know for how long we are going to suffer on account of this militancy. The militants, they have been to the nose and they have indeed killed so many. If I have an approximation, it is around 72,000 now, the total Pakistanis, which include more than 8,500 soldiers, I mean the people from the security forces of Pakistan. This latest incident of today, very, I would say, that sad incident, as you said earlier. But Afghanistan is a country, unfortunately, that but the Kabul has never been a friend to Pakistan. I mean, I'm talking about the government. And whatever is being done through this militancy, through the terrorists, that is indeed, I would say that it is not in isolation. These terrorists, they are not targeting Pakistani checkposts and Pakistani people along Pak-Afghan border in isolation at will. I would say that there is a, I would say, the involvement of Afghan government, and Afghan government is implementing this through its intelligence agency NDS, and NDS has indeed the advisory group of RA. This is the real story. But I am afraid that Pakistan has always made an effort in order to bridge the gap, the trust deficit between Pakistan and Afghanistan. For that, the military commander of the Pakistan, General Bajwa, he visited Afghanistan just a month earlier, and we felt that after his visit, there would be no trust deficit left, as a matter of fact, because President Ashraf Ghani, he promised that he is going to visit Pakistan. And then a lot of confidence building measures, they were expected to be undertaken by both countries. But the next week I saw that before Rex Tillerson he could reach New Delhi, Ashraf Ghani was in New Delhi talking against Pakistan, talking against CPAC, and once they said that Ashraf Ghani said that we are going to oppose the CPEC, it was a clear demonstration that they are going to create security problem in Pakistan and attacking checkposts, sending militants, destabilizing Pakistan internally. That is indeed the indirect way of stopping or creating problem for the China-Pakistan economic corridor. And this is indeed being done through a strategy, and this strategy is basically of India, which was later on backed by United States of America, and now it is being implemented through the militancy and through the terrorism. And the best area, best ground they have chosen for this, that is the Afghan Sahel, because that is the nearby area, and then Pakistan and Afghanistan, they have the porous border. Otherwise, thousands of the Afghans, they visit Pakistan on daily basis for their to earn their bread in Pakistan, and we Pakistani, under the I would say that considering the humanitarian crisis in that country, where there is a, I would say that civil war going on for no more than 30 years now, that we always have a consideration for the Afghan people. But unfortunately, the Afghan government has never been cordial, never been brotherly. But at least they should not let their soil to be used against the Pakistan. In this case, then it is totally wrong that once United States of America or even the Afghanistan, they accuse Pakistan that Pakistani soil is being used against Afghanistan.
Whereas it is the other way around.
Whereas the truth is that Afghan soil is being used against Pakistan, and there is no stoppage for that. Even United States of America maintaining its 9 bases in the Afghan soil, they have a very, very strong surveillance system which can see when an ant moving on the earth, but they can't find people moving from Afghanistan to the Pakistan. And if they are very, very sure about that the Pakistani soil is being used against Afghanistan,
right,
then they should have tracked and killed those people, those who have moved from Pakistan.
Well, these are all million-dollar questions. So let's ask Salman for his input and his opinion on this escalating matter. Salman, in your opinion, when we see such incidents take place, when we have a bilateral rapport going between the two countries, suddenly we have an incident such as this. So what, in your opinion, would be the reasons behind the continued mistrust or continued attacks against Pakistan from the Afghan side?
I think Afghan side has been time and again criticizing Pakistan's decision that it is going to secure its border. We have been working on the fencing and different strategies how to secure, because it's a difficult border to secure, but they have been making a case. But these kinds of incidents create a very legal rationale, a very potent rationale for Pakistan to secure its border, because if your checkpost is being attacked, and that too from other part of the world, then that's a serious international legal issue. And in other part of the world, this can create, I mean, this can be tantamount to an issue for a war. I mean, if you are attacked from other side of the border, what does it mean? It has certain sociological, legal, political connotation. So this thing is happening, and this is not a single issue or single incident that we see. A few weeks back, we heard the news that Khurasani was being hit by American drone, and that too in Afghan territory. So if you accuse Pakistan that Pakistan's territory is being misused and against you, but actually what is happening on ground is otherwise. There have been incidents where Afghan soil has been used, and it is now proven. Here I think that we are expecting too much from Afghan government. One, because they are not representative. They lack the political legitimacy that a government should have. Because of its internal structure, that is a very flawed structure. There are 2 people who are governing the state, and then they lack this hold over the state. They don't have writ. And another issue is that they are very soft upon all those people who are somehow destabilizing Pakistan. We have never seen their resolve against, because Pakistan has been doing a lot. Pakistan has been working against all these militants in different ways. We have devised a security strategy, a tactical military strategy, a political strategy. We might ask some questions about it, but as far as the military strategy is concerned, I mean Operation Zarb-e-Azab, Operation Zardul Fasad, and the intelligence-based operations that are being carried out in the length and breadth of the country, they are bearing fruits and results. And we are also facing this issue, as in, if somebody is implying that somehow Pakistani soil is being used, how can it be used against us? I mean, a week back, one of our senior police officials at Quetta was being attacked,
assassinated,
and, assassinated and martyred. And after a week, now we hear this news that 2 of our Jawans have embraced Shahadat in the defense of our country.
1 officer and 1 Jawan and 4 people injured.
And 4 people injured. So it means that the situation is pretty much volatile. US and Afghan both have to look into the matter retrospectively, as in what is their role, what have been the mistakes that they have been committing in the past. Afghan question has been very complex, and here I also want to reiterate the fact that there is a lobby, a very evident lobby, whether in Afghanistan or outside Afghanistan, in the modern world, in US or Europe, that is working against this cause of bringing stability in the region, particularly on border of Afghanistan and Pakistan. They have their own interest, they have their vested interest, we can talk about that as well. But there is this certain lobby, I have witnessed myself, that they create a paranoia about Pakistan, they create this misperception about Pakistan, and they try to discredit Pakistan of what it has been doing against war, against militants in war against terror, and the achievements that Pakistan have, because even though United States of America could not come up with such ground achievements that we have achieved in the past few years. So the situation is getting complex and volatile, but this would not serve the cause of Afghanistan, resolving the Afghanistan question. This will further, Pakistan has been behaving really maturely, I think, and we have been giving so much overtures, and as Dr. Saab also said, that Afghan population and is dependent on Pakistan, particularly when they are on their bread and butter. With that, on our health facilities, they come to Pakistan and utilize our health facilities in Peshawar. So the relationship between Afghans and Pakistanis, that has been exemplary. Pakistanis have opened their hearts and minds for them. They have created space in their society for them for the last 30 years. And now I time and again refer to the fact that Pakistani government is supporting Afghan youth. Their education is being supported by Pakistan government. In every university, I think this year more than 3,000 youngsters, girls and boys from Afghanistan joined our universities, our medical colleges, our engineering universities. So this is what Pakistan is doing. This is what Pakistan's gesture is. Now it's up to Afghan government, it's up to Afghan leadership, how to tackle the situation and how to kind of create a conducive environment where the trust that is always being tried to be built up by both the sides, that should be maintained, that should be sustained.
Well, let's see how the Americans are going to react to this latest incident, and whether they will take action which is necessary, and
let's see.
A long time coming. Well, let's move on to our second topic, and that is also related to Afghanistan, because we have these 2 hostile neighbors on either side of Pakistan, and it seems that Pakistan is the only country that is willing to bring both these countries on a friendly level. But unfortunately, Pakistan's overtures or Pakistan's moves are not being reciprocated the way that we would appreciate and hope that they would be. So let's talk about Pakistan's offer to allow Kulbhushan Yadav's wife to come and see him. Dr. Saab, in your opinion, what would you make of such an offer by Pakistan, and are there any international precedents in such cases, or do you think that this is a first, that such an offer is even being made graciously by the Pakistani authorities?
Waqas, this is truly on the humanitarian basis, and neither Pakistan has any pressure from the international community or International Court of Justice. As some of the Indian newspapers, they have written some articles that Pakistan is doing all this under the international pressure and all that. This is not true. Indeed, this is all for the on the humanitarian basis. Then you know that Kulbhushan Yadav have been very, very cooperative once he was revealing the facts, and he did not hide anything. That the network he was running in the Pakistan, it was entire Balochistan, then Karachi, and funding the terrorists elsewhere. And here let me share the fact that India very meticulously and under a lot of calculation, they strategized using a serving naval officer in this particular operation. Reason being that he is a naval officer, and all sabotage activities, all terrorism he was undertaking and planning, that was not at a tactical level, that was at a strategic level. And you know that he was stationed basically in Chabahar, and from Chabahar he used to visit Pakistani areas in Balochistan and maintaining a network elsewhere in the rest of the country. This entire aim was that how to sabotage this China-Pakistan economic corridor, and with that Gwadar deep sea port. So these aims and objectives were very, very clear for that matter. Now on this particular question you have asked that do we have some precedents? As far as my knowledge is concerned, we do not have any precedents on this, because he is a man who has been arrested on the Pakistani soil and is being dealt under section 59 of Pakistan Manual of Pakistan Military Law, MPML, and that is indeed for those terrorists, those saboteurs who are indeed planning against the country. So this particular sections of Pakistan Manual of Military Law is very much applicable on that, and under that he was given the death penalty and all that, though some of the formalities are still pending. For example, the mercy petition to the army chief and later on to the president of the Pakistan. But Pakistan felt that irrespective that India is pursuing a case in International Court of Justice, but we have some moral obligation, and this moral obligation, you know that we have driven all these things from the teaching of Islam, teaching of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and all that, and we Pakistan being the true followers of an ideology, we consider it our moral responsibility. So this is neither under pressure nor we have something. Had there been pressure, yes, there was a pressure that was giving the consular access to India. India tried it many a time, but Pakistan refused that, because Pakistan thought that no, this is not something, a case where there was a diplomatic immunity and all that. He was not a diplomat, nor he was on a preaching mission as far as the Pakistan is concerned. He was all about and doing what it is, the terrorism and all that. So all charges of the terrorism are charges that crossing the international border into the Pakistani side, those were applicable, and that's why he was dealt. Now it is up to the Indian that they how propagate it, or I would say
how they receive Pakistan's offer.
But Pakistan feel that he will be punished, and there is no way, I feel, at the national level, at the level of the masses, at the level of armed forces of Pakistan, that he is going to be spared. Reason being that sparing such a man would mean that you are going to invite many more Kulbushan Yadavs that who will do this, because in the past Pakistan did some sort of, I would say, that confidence building measure as far as the Indian terrorists, those who were arrested and all that. So here in this case, issue is very, very serious, and the people, they are the people of Pakistan, they are very, very touchy about that. But this gesture is indeed going to send a message that despite all these things, we have the consideration as far as the human rights are concerned, as far as the humanitarian aspects are concerned.
Right, and Salman, in your opinion, do you think this message is going to be received well or taken well in India, or do you think that it's really just a bit of just optics and not really anything concrete going to come out of this kind of a gesture?
Well, first of all, I agree with Dr. Saab that it's out of humanitarian concerns and considerations. But since India is quite segregated, intellectually it's segregated, because the kind of line that BJP toes and the kind of narrative that they have built up has extremist connotations, and everything coming from Pakistan, everything related to Pakistan, whether it is of extreme positive nature, is taken as negatively or portrayed as negatively. So those media outlets and those who are pro-BJP, they will definitely not take it positively, and they will create something, a new case out of it, as Dr. Saab mentioned, that some of the media outlets are saying that it is just because of the international pressure, though there is no international pressure. Had it been the case, then this virtue doesn't qualify to be a reaction to an international pressure. It would have been release, or it would have been a consular excess, or it would have been excess of what India wanted as a state, but that was not, that was denied on legal grounds, on legal, political, strategic grounds. This is purely humanitarian gesture. This should be taken positively. There would be some quarters. There are sane quarters on
Because
that
at the
side
same
border
time,
as well.
as Pakistan has been making these gestures and overtures, not just towards Afghanistan, but also towards India, and we have the incident that we just narrated a little while ago, where 2 of our soldiers lost their lives. But similarly, the Indians have also not really stopped violating the ceasefire agreement on the line of control. And even, I think, yesterday or today, we have incidents of innocent civilians being killed or injured as a result of Indian aggression on the line of control. So we keep hearing about these things. We hear that the DGMOs have established a hotline, and we're going back to the 2003 ceasefire agreement, and that's going to be respected. But yet, we see that it's all talk, and we never see the practical application of the lofty ideas or desires that we usually voice towards each other. So in your opinion, why is that the case? Why can't we put our words into actions?
Since as far as the Indian perspective is concerned, the situation on LOC has turned out to be a scapegoat. It's an instrumental policy to kind of divert attention of Indian public opinion, and somehow creating a negative pressure on Pakistan, testing Pakistan's nerves, that Pakistan would be provoked, because provocative behavior would not be in the interest of both the countries. It would harm both the countries. I think Pakistan has been behaving really maturely on this issue, though we are losing, as in our public is being targeted, and these ceasefire violations are increasing day by day. But Pakistan needs to show this restraint in South Asia, because we are going through critical times, as in this is the time when CPAC is, all the related aspects of CPAC are in full swing, and talks are going about the development of CPAC, and inviting different economies and countries to join it. So India is trying to create that space to somehow derail this process, to somehow create an oasis regarding this new development that is taking place, which has kind of changed Pakistan's view, Pakistan's picture in the global politics, and it will further change Pakistan's image. So that's why India is pushing us. They are trying to push us towards the wall. They've been diplomatically trying, and they've said it openly that we will try to isolate Pakistan, or we will isolate Pakistan. They are creating, squeezing our space in SARC. They try to squeeze our space in heart of Asia, and on many occasions that's very obvious. They also try to sabotage our image in Europe, particularly when our diplomatic circles ran that bus campaign where positive image of Pakistan was portrayed on, and there were these posters on the buses, and it really had great impact. Culturally, it had great impact. And then we see that there were some groups who also ran a bus campaign which said something about Balochistan, which had no relation with reality. It was nowhere near to reality. So this is the robust diplomacy doctrine that Modi has introduced, but it would not bear results, as in states behave differently. The kind of new paradigms that have been introduced by this new leadership in global world order, such as you see Trump being tweeting like a child, like a school-going child, and Modi being saying different things about, nasty things about states. This is not the way diplomats work. This is not the way diplomats talk. But they have their own methods, they have their own techniques, and I think time will pass and they would not work. But bringing the debate back to Kulbhushan Yadav's case and Pakistan's offer, I think that's a positive gesture, and that should be taken positively. And that will also, I think it's good for image of Pakistan as well, that tactically, yes, the person had breached some red lines, and when somebody breach red lines, he or she will be caught and she will be apprehended, and this will be this will be how Pakistan state will deal with him. But we have a humanitarian consideration as well, and her wife will be given access, and she can meet him, and but as Indian state wanted, as Indian political leadership wanted, that would not be the case. That would not be possible. And I think we have been, the pressure was on Pakistan, but Pakistan has been taking that pressure, and Pakistan has not succumbed to the pressure.
All right, let's hope that whatever happens does happen for the betterment of both countries' relationship between India and Pakistan and Afghanistan. It's very important that these three countries realize that being antagonistic to each other is not going to solve the problems for any of them. And the only way forward is for them to sit down and cooperate with each other. And that is, it's a no-brainer. You know, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand this simple fact. Let's move on to our third topic, and that is well, before we start talking about the smog situation, we'll take a short break, and I'd like to thank you, Dr. Saab, for taking out the time and being here. Well, take a short break. We'll be right back, and then we'll discuss the situation of our breathing problems due to the polluted air that everyone is being made to suffer. So we'll talk about that when we come back.
The largest cultural activity in Pakistan is the annual National Folk Festival, Lok Mela, held in Islamabad in October each year. Over the past 2 decades, this festival has taken on an international flavor, and more than 20 different countries have sent their artisans and performers to participate in the festival. Nationally, the festival has become a thing of pride for artisans and performers who come on their own to participate. Most important of all, the provinces of Pakistan and Azad Jammu and Kashmir put up beautifully decorated pavilions, and visitors had the unique opportunity to see an assortment of Pakistan's traditionally rich culture in the federal capital of Islamabad for an exciting 10 days. An exhibition of artisans at work under the banner of the Heritage Museum forms the core of this festival. Pavilions of each province depict their own regional culture and crafts. The Research and Media Center of Lok Virsa arranges groups of dancers that perform all over the festival grounds, inviting visitors to join in, and in the evening arranges music concerts from all parts of Pakistan. This festival is a true depiction of the diversity found in Pakistani culture. Fairs and Festivals of Pakistan.
The ancient city of Taxila.
Welcome back. Now we've been joined by Dr. Imran Khalid, who's an environmentalist. Let's talk to him about the worsening smog situation in the country. Thank you very much for joining us, Khalid Saab. Now, in your opinion, what do you think is the primary cause? Because we've heard lots of reports, different opinions about the reasons for this dense, polluted smog that we are being confronted with. One of those reasons that is being touted is the crop burning that is taking place in both India and Pakistan, I would say. Do you think that that is the main cause for the pollution and the tragedy that most people are suffering in Punjab?
It's definitely a cause. I mean, it's stubble burning, basically. The crops have been harvested and then there's stubble on the ground, and there are mechanisms to deal with it, but unfortunately the farmers find it easier to burn off the stubble rather than cutting it off and letting it become.
But do you
a
think
part
that
of the
that's
soil.
such a big issue that is causing this kind of a reaction in the atmosphere? What about the cars? What about the diesel engines? What about the furnace oil that we are burning to make electricity? What about all these
It's
other
definitely
factors?
a part of it. So stubble burning is there, and it's been there for a while, but it's been exacerbated due to the cars that you mentioned, the type of fuel that we burn, the number of factories that are coming up. We burn our waste as well. Solid waste is being thrown on the streets, and then people go and burn it. So it all adds up. And what you're seeing right now is this large amount of population growth across South Asia, not only in India but also in Pakistan, and that's adding to the malaise.
Okay. So let's also get to Salman into the conversation. Salman, you also gave a weather report on the radio, I believe. So what was the highlight of the report that you gave us?
I think when I talked to the, as Dr. Saab has said, and when I talked to the specialists of environment and weather, they were of the opinion that this is not a phenomena which has occurred in a certain proportion. I mean, it's a very lifelong process which...
So we've seen this happen over the last 10 years or so.
But the smoke is new. But people think that smoke has just come and it will vanish if a rain will come or if there is some remedy. But it will not go like this, because this has accumulated. I think the environment, the molecules in the environment, they just appear in colder environment. When the environment gets hot, then you don't see it, but it is there.
Right.
So this is what was there in the environment, but now we can see it, and now it has kind of juxtaposed in the general fog that is there. So we need plans, not only plans for immediate reaction, but there should be definite planning for long term. And recently I've seen that there have been this tree cutting going on in various cities. I've witnessed it in Islamabad. I think it takes 30 years for a tree to grow up and, you know, to really create an impact of its own. So after 20 years, if the tree is being cut, I mean, that's really disastrous for environment. And now we can see. Plus, there is another aspect as well. When we devise development plans and we do this monumental development, infrastructural development, then we need to keep in mind the environmental impacts as well.
Very
because and India, Pakistan both are in the line of fire, as in
climate
Delhi
change
is the most polluted city according to this one survey report, and Lahore has got the second place.
No, now apparently it's been reversed. Lahore is number one and
Delhi is number two.
Yes.
So both the countries and leadership in the countries need to realize the fact that
the
yes,
people
we
are
need energy,
breathing poisonous air and dying.
We need energy, we need good economy and infrastructural base for that good economy, but not at the cost of environment, not at the cost of our health. I mean, it's really disastrous to you know.
So
walk in
the
this kind
cost benefit analysis needs to be done here very seriously. So in your opinion, Dr. Imran, what kind of solutions do you think we can present or suggestions we can make to the government in order to alleviate this issue or to have some kind of a remedy?
This is not the first time that any country or any region is facing this kind of problem. We saw this happen in the early 20th century in Europe. In London, there was a famous smog episode in the 1950s which cost a lot of lives. So we need to learn from that. It's been happening in China as well, and people have developed laws and brought in legislation to regulate against pollution that happens. So we've already got laws on papers. We don't need to do anything else. What we need to do is to implement what we already have. So we've got a National Environmental Protection Act, we've got National Environmental Quality Standards, and these are all from the 1990s. It's just that we've been ignoring them, and we've been ignoring them at our own peril, as we can see. What's happening is that this is causing a great loss in terms of man hours. People can't go to work. It's having an impact on the health of our children. I mean, that also adds up. So I call it an environmental emergency. That's where we are at right now. We need to take this up at war footing and take up the laws that we already have on paper and start implementing them. So when we talk about industries, we need to ensure that there are air pollution controls already installed when an industry is being operated. We talk about brick kilns. Well, a lot of brick kilns that we have use outdated
Fuel.
Yes, exactly. You talk about the fuel that our cars are using. Our waste management system is in disarray. So this is not rocket science, unfortunately. This is something that's very basic. People have done this and done it so well that
Because
you
we're
don't
very
hear about
good
this
at rocket
anymore.
science, by the way. Yeah, well, unfortunately for us, we're good at rocket science, but not so much at general science.
And I think we wait for this kind of issues to emerge. I mean, we were waiting for smog for so many years. We should have preempted. I think this is what is missing in our state, that we wait for a calamity or for an incident or for this kind of an environmental issue, and
that
then
has come to now
we-
define us, don't you think? This knee-jerk reaction that we
yes.
have to every situation, whether it be political, whether it be environmental, whether it be any kind of situation.
But
it's
at
always
times
a
you have
reaction.
limitations. I mean, now you cannot blow something else in the air and you cannot get rid of smog. It is there. And now you cannot plant trees which will grow up in 2-3 days and they'll. Dr. Saab has mentioned that many countries have dealt with it. And I used to read about China and particularly about Beijing, that it's very difficult to even breathe in Beijing. But now they have overcome this issue. They have come up with a new energy policy where they have set these timings for all those industries whose chimneys were emitting something which was not good for environment. And I've witnessed as well that there are these, you can witness in Beijing if you roam around, that there is this plantation which you can see that this is a very new plantation. It has just taken place in 5-6 years, but that has really changed the environment. The environment is really clean now.
So there are certain species of plants that
Yes.
can be, propagated or grown in these concrete jungles that the cities are becoming, so that the air can be purified and clean.
Purified,
So,
yes.
in your opinion, Dr. Saab, do we have access to these plants? Why are they not being used by the government? Why is it that we're sitting on this really, really important issue? Why no work is being done? You're working with the SDPI, so they should be pretty active.
Well, plants are definitely a part of it. Trees are definitely a part of it. They serve as a carbon sink. So we're talking. There's a climate summit going on right now. We're talking about
Pakistan and India are the most vulnerable countries to climate change.
We are, and the recent reports suggest that we are at number 7. We've been in the top 10 for a number of years. So, but our forest cover is around 2%. If you take a look at the whole country. So definitely that needs to be taken up. What's happened with the greater urbanization is that we've taken away our green spaces, and that means we've taken away the parks and areas that should have been playgrounds, and we've converted them into housing societies. So we really need a sea change in terms of our thinking when it comes to development. We can't go on like this. Pakistan's population is already
unsustainable.
It's crossed the 200 million mark. We'll be around 350 million by the time we get to 2050. So where are we heading? We really need to rethink the way we perceive development. It doesn't only mean building factories and building huge infrastructure. We really
Maybe we need to take a few
our
lessons from Bhutan and follow their principles, because they're very conscious about the environment. They've given subsidies to people who would use electric cars and so on and so forth. But they're very, very, they have their hands on the pulse as far as the environment is concerned. Don't you think we can learn a few lessons from such countries, such as Bhutan? And if so, then why aren't those lessons being put into practice?
It's just that there's a lack of political will, unfortunately.
As is in everything else.
It is. There's a total lack of political will because, industrialization, businesses, they have a really major say in how we make decisions in this country. And unfortunately, that's coming to haunt us right now. And so we really need to have this rethink regarding Bhutan, which has, if you look at the happiness index, they really top that.
They
year
don't
after
measure
year.
their country's economy in terms of GDP.
Yes.
Right.
They measure it in GDH. Maybe that's something that should be learned by the rest of the world, in fact,
Definitely.
not just Pakistan. Well, moving forward, we've spoken about the causes and the possible solutions, but for those people who are now actually suffering the consequences, what immediate remedies can they take? In India, we've seen that they've shut down the schools, they've limited the number of cars that can ply on the roads, there's some strategy or some scheme in which there are some hours during which certain kinds of vehicles can ply on the road. So none of these things have been taken up by Pakistan, for example, turning or shutting down the schools and so forth. But what impact, if any, do you think these measures are going to have immediately?
The smog is there. It's there to stay for the foreseeable future as far as this year is concerned, and perhaps even the years to come. what's happening right now in India is that they've taken steps to protect the health of the people. You cannot let the children go out and breathe this air for long, because what the measures, the pollutant levels are so high that they're very toxic.
But do you
They're
think
having
that
an effect.
that people's houses are filters enough to keep the air which is polluted all around them outside from entering the houses? Don't you think it's the same air?
It's unfortunately it's not the same air, but that's the best. That's
the
the
best
best that we can do. You know, limit the time that kids are spending outside. Ensure that we've got a public transportation system that's working, because every time I drive from my home to my place of work alone by myself, I'm contributing to the problem. So public transportation system is another aspect that we can work on.
But unfortunately, our public transport system has also been held hostage as a result of a great protest taking place in our fair city. So we'll talk about that also. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for taking out the time and being on the show and sharing your views with PTV World. Let's hope that the powers that be can take your advice and put it into practice, because that's really where we are lacking. Well, you heard the conversation, and in conclusion, I would just like to say that the lives of the people of Islamabad and Rawalpindi have been made miserable as a result of not just the weather, but also some people who have blocked the entry and exit points to the city. And unfortunately, it is unsustainable. How can a city keep on existing? 5 million people being held hostage by 2,000 or 3,000 demanding God knows what, something which is probably not even really a demand, because whatever it is that they were demanding has already been rectified as far as information from the press is received. But we are hoping that common sense or some sense prevails and the people can go back home and let other people lead their lives normally. With that hope and on that note, it's goodbye.